Hey guys, Retro Gaming Guy here. So today in this video, we're going to unbox, demo, and review the Kinhank X5 Pro plug-and-play game console. This comes with a 4 terabyte external hard drive that you're going to connect over to this, and you will have access to over 16,000 plug-and-play retro video games. I'm not sure exactly what games or collections are included in here, but we're going to find out. So what we'll do in this video is we're going to unbox this. I'll show you guys around everything that's included in the package, and then we'll go ahead and we'll set this up. We'll fire it up, we'll tour through everything that this has to offer, and then we'll dive into some games and test out what the performance is like on this plug-and-play console. So let's get started. Let's dive into it. All right, guys, so we've got our X5 Pro game system instructions right here. We want to first comb through this, see what is included in here. So it's going to walk through how we set up our controller, how we navigate everything within, how we use our hotkey setup on here to actually exit games effectively within our emulators. Right here it says, please connect the hard drive to the console first and then turn on the power to avoid the console not being able to recognize the hard drive. So we'll make sure that we follow the instructions that are outlined on here. It's in a couple different languages. I want to first actually open this up, and it seems to be like a solid block. And here we go. Here's where it's taped. So inside here we have our hard drive, very well protected here. And one thing I will make notice of here, or make mention of, I should say, is the fact that right here we have our mechanical hard drive, and yes, it is 4 terabytes here. Only thing that I'm going to be critical of is this is not the branded one that is pictured on the Amazon listing, and that could obviously change in the future. So if you guys see that the image matches up with what we got here later on Amazon, then awesome. But this is AGST on here. That is the only branding that I am seeing. But what they showed on the listing was actually a Seagate Barracuda drive. So, you know, just different branding here. I'm not familiar with this particular one, so I'm just going to point out the fact that this is very different than what was advertised. But hey, if it works and it's reliable, awesome. We just don't know. I'm not familiar with the brand. So we're going to set this aside. We'll go into the controller next, and then we'll obviously dive straight into the console from there. So we get a GameSir T3 wireless game controller. I'm not familiar with this exact model right here, but GameSir is a great brand. I've had great luck with GameSir products. So, you know, I do think that this is probably going to be, you know, a solid option for people. But let's open this up and take a look at the controller that is provided. Always nice to see branded controllers, because oftentimes with these plug-and-play devices, we get generic crap, and that isn't going to be the case here with GameSir. So let's go ahead and open this up. So this is one of their more basic options. It's got a PS4 style, PS3, PS4 style, you know, feel to this. AVXY is the labeling over here for the 4-button configuration, dual analog sticks, start select. We got turbo clear button in the center, so you could go ahead and set up your hotkey functions on here however you want to any of those. D-pad seems to have good action. You know, it doesn't feel like one of the top of the line GameSir products by any means. It's probably one of the more budget-friendly options, but it is very comfortable. Action on the button seems to be good. We'll obviously jump into some games with this and really give you an in-depth perspective as to what the experience is like. But so far, so good. It definitely feels very comfortable. Great action on the trigger buttons up here. Shoulder buttons as well. Everything just seems very responsive, and you're going to use this provided cable to actually plug it in. And I believe this is just to charge it. Yeah, it's to charge because this is a wireless option there, so that's good. You'll be able to connect this over via Bluetooth then. So let's go into the actual console next. So lift the lid on this, see what is offered within. So we have the Super Console X5 Pro user manual here. And let's see, it basically just walks through how you're going to set this up. Very simple process here. You're going to have your HDMI connection to your TV. Power supply cable goes right here. And then it says here you have the Ethernet for internet connection. Doesn't walk through, because this is just the actual console itself, doesn't walk through how to connect over the drive. So we'll have to dive into that a little bit here. So let's open this up. Very nicely put together for sure. And let's see. So we have our SATA connection over here. And I imagine that under here we probably have a SATA connection that we can actually, excuse me, a SATA cable that we can connect the drive over to. Over here we have all of our port options. We have a micro SD card slot. We have 3 USB 3 ports, 1 regular USB-A port here. So right here we have 4 USB-A connections. Whether they're 3 or not, it doesn't really make a difference if you're connecting over controllers. Great options over here, though. If you had a wired connection for 4 players, you could certainly accommodate that. Flip it over to the back side here. We have our on and off switch here. We have our Ethernet connection, Type-C port right here, optical over here, HDMI, audio connection, so you can bring your headphones into the mix. And then down here is going to be our power supply connection. So we do seem to have some ventilation up here at the top and down here at the bottom as well. So all in all, seems to be laid out pretty nicely. Let's open this up down here. And there's all of our connections. And as I was wondering, here is our SATA connection. So the way that we would connect this is you're simply going to take one end and slide it into the console just like so. So again, slides in just like that. And then the other end of this right here is going to connect over to the mechanical drive. So all you have to do is just make those 2 connections just like this. It really doesn't look all that attractive here, but as long as it works, that's all that really matters in the end. So you would just kind of sit these side by side. We have an HDMI cable right here, and it does say that it is an 8K power supply cable right here. And then we have a remote as well. Now the remote is very convenient to use, especially if you want to use this with like YouTube or Disney Plus, stuff like that, I suppose. I honestly never use the remotes. I just use the controllers to navigate everything. I find that to be very easy to use. So we're gonna go ahead and actually set this up, and I'll power this up. You guys can see exactly what I see, and we'll tour through what this console has to offer. So that's one connection. HDMI is going to go right back here, and we'll power this on.
All right, guys, so here we are loaded up into the 4 terabyte hard drive that's connected over to the Super Console X5 Pro. So I actually set this up so it's going to show the all games list here, and that wasn't something that I found by default on here. So I'm going to show you guys real quick how I enabled that. I just went to the start button, open up the main menu. I went down to game collection settings right here, and I went into automatic game collections, and I just simply enabled the all games list. You can also enable favorites and last played, which are also nice if you're going to be diving into this on a regular basis, as most people likely are. And the reason that I did this today to show the all games list is because I wanted to see the total game count on here. And if you look in the bottom right corner, the font is quite small, but it says 16,146 games in here. So that tells us exactly how many titles are available to us on here. And we'll be combing through all of this very closely today. Let's launch the all games list though. All right, guys, so here we are inside the all games list, and everything here is going to be found in alphabetical order. We've got a bunch of logos on the right hand side. So as we scroll through, we're not dealing with a text list. We're going through here looking at the logos for every single title, which I love. I think this is just a flawless layout right here. We've got the logo design on the right-hand side that we scroll through. We've got the cover art here for each title, and we also have a video preview. Now, there's also additional information, a little brief description underneath the video preview. We also have some other info in the bottom right corner as to who created this, what system it was for. We've got information on, this is a EA Electronic Arts game, so it says that right there. We also have a little rating on here, tells you how many players can play this. This is a 1-player game, it looks like, which I believe is true. That is Tomorrow Never Dies. Yeah, that would be a single-player game. So really nicely put together here, very easy to navigate. And if you want to jump to something, so let's say we want to look up titles that start with the letter S, we just simply go to our select button on our controller. It's going to pull up the game list options, and we just go to the jump to here, and we just go over to S. And we'll confirm that with our A button here. So there's S, we'll confirm that, and it's going to bring us right down to the S titles, which is awesome. So we'll hit apply, and there we go. Brings us right over there, and we can start scrolling through here. So if we were looking for like Sonic the Hedgehog, we could easily locate it by just simply going to S and scrolling all the way down until we get to the SOs. And there we go. We're at the Sonic titles here. Bunch of them listed here. So let's back out of this. We're going to go over here. This collection has just 6 games, it looks like, and we can see the layout within. It's a consistent layout inside here for each of these collections, which I'm definitely digging. We have the Atari 2600, 537 games there. Atari 5200, 97 games here. Atari 7800 with 67. Yep, 67 games. The font is very small, so it can be a little bit hard to see sometimes, but 43 games for Jaguar over here from Atari. We've got Atari Lynx over here with 74 games, Wonder Swan with 106 games, Wonder Swan Color with 93 games, Capcom Play System 1, 42 games, Play System 2, 36 games, Capcom System 3, just 5 games. Excuse me, 6 games. ColecoVision is going to give us 140, and we'll take a look in here, and you can see not every single one of these titles is going to have a video preview. For a lot of the older ones here, they're just doing a screenshot, but still, I think it looks pretty good. I'm sure they ran into some restraints with the capacity of the hard drive. So like over here, you can see we've got, it looks like actually these duplicates. Looks like there are some duplicates in here, and I am going to be on the lookout for that, but these are all screenshots here. But love the layout and design of this. The UI is nicely put together. But yeah, there's definitely a couple duplicates within this collection here. We'll keep it moving though. Final Burn Neo, 1,742 games, and we'll take a look inside here. So lots of classic arcade games here. Now I will kind of take a glance at the titles here because I want to see if they're also going to have the same titles in the MAME collection. Oftentimes on plug-and-play devices like this, we will see crossover between those two collections. And other than that, though, I mean, it looks pretty nicely put together, to say the least. I'm going to just kind of hold this down, and we're going to jump to another random letter here just to see what else is, you know, kind of in the mix. So we're not just looking through the first handful of titles for each of these. All right, so we landed down here in the B's. And again, looks very nice. Love Body Slam. So we'll back out. MSX is the next collection with 392 titles. You can see, again, consistent layout inside each of these collections. Next one is going to be MAME, and we have just 210 games here. So it looks like I'm actually pleasantly surprised by this because FB Neo had so many, so it makes sense that we don't want to have crossover over here, so we have a lesser number. We're going to jump in and make sure, though, and I'm not seeing crossover. I can't say that there's not some titles that are over there, but this, you know, all in all, does look to be quite different than the previous collection over there for FB Neo. So we do have a great selection of arcade titles here between the two collections, which is really nice. I'm a big arcade gamer myself, so this is very nicely put together yet again. Super Graphics is next with 252 games. We've got TurboGrafx 16 with 106 games. TurboGrafx CD, 45 games. Nintendo 3DS, 482 games. Now that is a massive collection. Let's dive in here. Personally, not a big 3DS guy. Nothing against it. Just never really played the original console, and because I have no real connection to it, I really haven't done much with emulation. I've tested it out. Emulator does work very nicely, but not something that I dive into a whole lot. I do like the Adventures of Tintin, though. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool movie, and the game's pretty decent as well. What else do we have in here? So definitely some pretty cool titles, it seems. Again, not super familiar with these. Some of these I have played other versions of, though. We'll back out. It's a massive collection, though. 482, and I'm not seeing duplicates. Nintendo 64, 264 games, which is a great assortment of titles there, just going off of the game count alone. But I will say this, a lot of times when we have duplicates, it's not uncommon to find a collection of 700 plus titles for N64. So I'm interested to see if we have any sort of duplicates in here, but so far so good. Let's see what we've got. GoldenEye's in here. I know that's going to be a big one for people. Great game for the N64. Probably one of the best games for N64 in my opinion. California Speed, I always enjoy that as well. Love racing games, especially from, you know, this era of gaming. So the cruising games are a must for me. I'll actually dive into one of these because I want to test out not only the performance of the console, the emulator here, but also I want to see how this GameSir controller is, and there's no better way than testing out the steering in one of the cruising games. Get some ECW in there for wrestling fans. All-time favorite game right here, Gauntlet Legends. So we don't have previews for this one, but we have the still shots. I'm definitely liking it still. Hydro Thunder, another great game. Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest is a great one as well. I actually played that a lot on Game Boy Color. Very different, obviously, but still an absolute blast. Mario Kart 64. So we do have a foreign logo on there, but It does say Mario Kart up at the top, and then everything else here does appear to come together very nicely. So pretty cool. Same thing with the Mario parties. Obviously, foreign logo up at the top, but all in all, pretty good. All right, so as a wrestling fan, I got to check out. We got the Blitz titles. We've got some NBA titles here as well, so I'm happy with that. But we got to check out, do we have WCW NWO Revenge, one of my all-time favorite N64 games? That will be the ultimate test here. Saw some Star Wars in there, Tony Hawk games. I saw it. There we go. Oh, no, not Revenge, but we've got WCW versus NWO World Tour with my boy Buff Bagwell right there on the top. For those that don't know, I've got a YouTube channel with Buff Bagwell from WCW. I'll provide you guys with a link in the description of this video. You guys can check out that YouTube channel. It's kind of a behind the scenes, pulling back the curtain on the business and everything Buff Bagwell from the WCW days to modern day. We've got WCW Backstage Assault, but man, why don't we have Revenge? I mean, you can get rid of Backstage Assault. Nobody's going to play that one. Nitro, not a huge fan of Nitro personally either, but WCW NWO Revenge, you got to have that. At least they have No Mercy. Definitely, getting some points there for that one. WrestleMania 2000 is another great one, but you got to get Revenge on here. That's my only issue with this collection. Everything else looks great. We'll back out. Nintendo DS over here, 16 games. Also not a big DS guy myself, but this is my go-to game when I do emulate DS games right here. Mario Kart DS, great title. So pretty good assortment there. We have NES over here with 884 games. I mean, you can't beat that. And the graphic for the background is phenomenal as well. I even like that up at the top there above the TV screen. We've got Luigi up there. Really cool. We've got Game Boy over here, 851 games. That's awesome. Great selection. Game Boy Advance, 1070 on point. Game Boy Color over here, 596 games. I'm loving the fact that there's no duplicates in here, and I know that just based off of these three collections and their game counts, everything's looking good. If they're a little bit higher than what they should be in some cases, it's likely due to like the 2-in-1 releases. A lot of times we see that on these plug and plays. And the graphics on the theme here is very cool as well. So we've got 600. Just checking that out even closer. I want to make sure I wasn't seeing things here. 623 GameCube games. That's insane. And it starts off here with WWE Day of Reckoning 2. I love that. I'm not sure how that is in alphabetical order, but it's all good. Great game. Probably honestly the best wrestling game for GameCube, I would say. I love WrestleMania 18 just because I have memories playing that as a kid, but that particular one, Day of Reckoning 2, probably the best graphically, and just the playability on there is great as well. So let's see what we got for GameCube. I'm a big GameCube guy. Got some Burnout in here, Call of Duty, the old school ones. See Carmen Sandiego right there. That's cool. Got some stuff I probably wouldn't dive into much, but there's some cool stuff in here as well. Lots of Crash titles. We got Crazy Taxi in here. Dave Mirra 2, Dead to Rights, Def Jam Vendetta, Def Jam Fight for New York, which, I mean, if that title won't get you into emulation, nothing will, because if you get the actual copy, the original game copy for, whatever, and any of the systems it was made for, super expensive title to buy the original for. So that's one that is definitely emulated a whole lot. We've got Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, Donkey Konga 1 and 2 in here. Great titles. Dragon Ball Z. And we're only down to now E. So Enter the Matrix, love that. And I will say there's a few titles we've seen with what look like duplicates. It's just because it's dual disc games. And this one right here, no different. This is a 2-disc game. So one version is disc 1, one version is disc 2. If you select the wrong one, it will prompt you to just select the first one first. So all good there. Let's see what else we have. Let's go down to the M titles. Let's see what we have for, and I saw Gauntlet Dark Legacy, which is a great title, another favorite of mine. 007s are in here, and I believe that's there because even though it's 007, it is James Bond, so they're putting it with the J's. which is good. All right. Let's go down to M. I want to see what we have. And I saw Legends of Wrestling, which I like. Lord of the Rings. There we go. We've got the Mario games. So we've got Mario Golf. We've got Mario Kart Double Dash, Mario Party 4, 5, 6, 7, Power Tennis. Lots of great stuff in here. All right, we're going to keep it moving. Let's back out. We've got Super Nintendo with 800 games even. We've got Nintendo Switch with 1 game. Just curious what we have for this. Contra Anniversary Collection. Great game. Virtual Boy. 23 games over here. Nintendo Wii, 33 games. I'm a big Wii emulation fan, so let's see what we have in here. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, great game. I don't know if I've actually played that for Wii, though. Maybe I have, but great title nonetheless. GoldenEye 007, big fan of that title as well. We got Mario Kart for Wii. We got some Mortal Kombat in here, some NASCAR in here, some Need for Speed, Super Mario Brothers Wii, great game. Got that in my living room. Sonic Colors, Sonic Unleashed, Soul Calibur Legends. Very nice. That's a different one right there. Super Mario Galaxy 2. Some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in here. Some Zelda in here. Some WWE 12. Awesome. Great assortment here. And the cool thing about this is a great starting point. You can add or remove games very easily as well if you wanted to. So you don't have to live with just what you have currently on here. You can remove stuff, free up some space, add some new stuff in yourself by just locating ROMs and dropping them in. So just unlimited opportunities here. So Atomic Wave with 18 games. We've got Sega CD over here with 67 games. We've got Sega Dreamcast 324. Big Dreamcast fan right here. And we've got some Virtua Tennis in here, Virtua Striker in here. Wow, Ultimate Fighting Championship, the original UFC game, The Typing of the Dead. Now, this is a cool game. It requires a keyboard, so it's basically the House of the Dead 2. However, you have to type things in instead of shooting. So, like this, like right there it says Glutton, it says Crane. You have to have on your keyboard, you just type that, and every letter is a shot on, the bad guys on screen. So it says there, let's see, what's the next one's going to pop up? Was that Vavroom? Let's wait for a more. All right, so this one says "Hey you." You have to type "Hey you!" exclamation point very quickly before you get attacked. So, not for the people that type like they're on a typewriter, but for people that can type pretty quickly, like myself, it's actually a blast. I thought it was going to be laughable when I first played that game. It's really fun, actually. All right, what else do we have here? Star Wars games, awesome. Spider-Man, Speed Devils, wow. It's been a while since I have seen that game. That's crazy. Soul Calibur, some Sonic games, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, Silent Scope, awesome. Lots of great stuff in here. Sega Rally, San Francisco Rush, Ready to Rumble. We've got Resident Evil we passed there. Great stuff. And I like the fact that this collection has the video previews too. All right, let's back out. Sega Game Gear 334, Sega Genesis 932, Master System 293, Mega Drive 32X 35, Sega Naomi 49. Let's check this out because I'm a big arcade guy, but also Sega, so this is just a home run for me. We've got Royal Rumble. Love this game right here. Virtua NBA, another great one. Wow, Spawn's in here. Now that's one you don't typically see on plug and plays. Power Stone 1 and 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Heavy Metal. Love it. Wow, this is absolutely incredible. Zombie Revenge. Sweet. All right, Sega Saturn over here, 306. All right, Sega Saturn is a good one, too. That's another one. You usually have a pretty slim picking for that in these plug-and-plays. So we got the WrestleMania arcade game. We've got WWF in your house. Worms, World Series. Virtual Open Tennis. Virtua Racing. Virtua Cop 1 and 2, Fighter. Tomb Raider. Jurassic Park, the original House of the Dead. Lots of Street Fighter. Space Jam's a cool one. Sonic titles. Excellent. Great selection in here. I'm definitely loving that. And it's a deep collection with 306 for titles. Sega SG-1000, 63 games. Sharp 68,000. We've got 296, excuse me. Neo Geo, 118. SNK Neo Geo CD, 93 games. Neo Geo Pocket, 10 games. 38 for Neo Geo Pocket Color. We've got PlayStation now. Oh, wow. 1,826 PlayStation games, and I'm sure we've got all our favorites. Huge 007 fan right here, so The World Is Not Enough, Tomorrow Never Dies, Racing as well. Let's go up the opposite way, though. Lots of titles in here. Wow. This is a massive collection. I mean, this is just insane. Was not expecting that at all. And we've got all the WWF SmackDown. I love these games. The SmackDown 1 and 2, love it. Probably lean towards Know Your Role a little bit more just because I remember playing that more because it was the later and slightly better graphics on that one. Of course, we got the arcade. Worms in here, got all of those. This is crazy. I mean, this thing is worth it alone for, just PlayStation alone at this point. We've got some WCW titles in here. We've got, looks like Sting and Canyon there from Mayhem, which I think is underrated. I love that game. This game right here is not underrated. This is absolutely horrendous. Probably the worst. I don't know. I've got that in my top 5 worst video games ever made. And that's coming from a massive WCW fan. Macho and Hollywood there for Nitro. Wasn't a big fan of that one, but is what it is. So pretty cool stuff in here. We'll back out. Next one is PS2. 658 PS2 games. And we've got the God of War graphic there, so I'm sure we've got God of War in here, but we've got Agent Under Fire. Love that game. Everything or Nothing. And this is, oddly enough, one of my favorite 007 games, and it's one of the least popular ones, but I love From Russia with Love. I love the movie as well. Sean Connery. Can't go wrong there. So huge fan of Sean, and I don't know, like that game is just a blast. It's a casual game. It's really not that difficult to play, but really enjoyable. And one, wow, that's not telling of the times, huh? Ants takes me back to my childhood. We've got Arctic Thunder, awesome game here. ATV racing. We've got backyard, bunch of different backyard sports. We've got the backyard wrestling here. Bunch of Batman titles. Black, that is a great game. Black. Brothers in Arms. Road to Hill 30, right? Road to Hill 30, yeah. That's a great one. Looks like all the Burnouts. Some hunting games in here from Cabela's. Lots of old school Call of Duty. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I actually had this for Xbox. Don't remember playing it much, but I remember the cover art's pretty cool for that. There we go. Contra, Shattered Soldier. Very cool. All the Crash games are present. Dave Mirra 2, Dead to Rights 1 and 2. Destroy All Humans 1 and 2. Wow. It's taking me down memory lane here. All right, I mean, we're only down to so far the D titles now. It's absolutely crazy. Dynasty Warriors. Oh man, I remember checking that out when it came out. When you used to go to like Walmart or Kmart, you used to be able to like test out the games on like the little kiosk thing. I remember that's when my first exposure to those games was. All right, let's back out of this one. I'll get lost here for hours. PSP Minis. Now, I complain about PSP collections on Plug and Plays always being littered with PSP Minis. This right here is what you want to do. You want to have your own category for PSP Minis because I'm not against PSP Minis, but when you have like a PSP collection and then you open it up because it says like 300 games and it's just PSP Minis, that's super misleading. I love that this is separated. And there are some really cool games in here that you can enjoy. Just categorize it correctly, and they've done that. So cool. Here's the true PSP collection, though. 800 PSP games, and this is our last one. We're going to loop back over to all games over here, and that's everything that's on here. This is insane. 800 PSP games. And look, it opens up with my favorite right there, 007 From Russia with Love, Sean Connery. But these are all true PSP titles. This is what you want in a PSP collection. You don't want to go in here and find 3 of these and the rest all PSP minis. This is absolutely phenomenal. Army of Two. Love this. The 40th Day. That's a cool one. Now, I haven't played this for PSP, but I've played the Army of Two for, I believe I have it for Xbox 360. Atari Classics in here. So Beowulf. There we go. Dirt 2. Love this racing game. This I have played for PSP. All right, guys, we'll jump out. That is everything here. We got to jump into some demos, though, so I'll jump into some random titles here throughout, the different collections, and we'll test out the performance of this. But what this has to offer, absolutely amazing. We don't have to worry about duplicates here. So they're not advertising 100,000 games. They're advertising over 16,000 games, and that's the true count on here. They're not padding numbers. I mean, this is great. So I hope everything works. We got to dive in and test it out, though. All right, guys, we jumped in and we checked out the Kinhank Super Console X5 Pro, and I have to say this is very much aligned with what is advertised. They say that there's over 16,000 games on here. In most cases with plug-and-play consoles or drives, in this case we have both combined here and bundled together. In most cases, they advertise one thing and they deliver something completely different. That's not the case here. They have 100% over 16,000 games, and it's not including duplicates and all that crap that we see all the time, and we have seen from Kinhank in the past as well. Everything is put together in a very nice way. All the titles are individual titles. There are some that look like there's duplicates, but in my experience, and I can't vouch for every single title when you're talking about 16,000 plus games, but the majority of the seemingly duplicates that I saw were actually part 1 and part 2. So like Enter the Matrix, for example, it's a dual disc game, so it'll be listed in there twice. It'll show up as a duplicate, but it's not actually a duplicate. It's part 1, disc 1, part 2, disc 2. So if you launch the wrong one, you'll be prompted to just go back out and launch the correct disc that you want to dive into. So very nicely put together. Love the layout and design from collection to collection. You have video previews for titles in most cases. For those that don't have a video preview, you get a screenshot. It's different graphics for every aspect of what you see. So you'll see like a logo for the title on the right hand side as you're scrolling through from game to game. You'll get a description, you'll get some information about that title, and then you'll get that screenshot or video preview. You'll also get the box art. There's also very nice background images and stuff throughout the themes here. So very nicely put together. I can't stress that enough. Very easy to navigate to. Everything's in alphabetical order.
You can locate things very well. You can jump around as well. You don't have to just go title by title scrolling through. You can jump to specific letters to just, make the experience a little bit more seamless and less time consuming. So really a big fan of the layout and design. Now let's talk about before we talk about performance, let's talk about the console itself. It offers everything that you need for ports. It's, pretty streamlined there in that, it's not overcomplicated with multiple display options. Like you just have the HDMI port there. You just bring that over to your TV or monitor. Very straightforward, very easy to set up. It took me all of, 2 seconds to get this up and running. We have the SATA connection at the end. The only thing I'll say is that connecting over a mechanical drive like this that it connects externally, you just have the drive sitting there loose. You don't have an enclosure. This isn't getting installed within the console. So you end up with, a setup that looks more or less like this right here. It's, it's a little bit sloppy looking. It takes up a good amount of space. It is what it is. It's, it's effective. It does what it's supposed to do, but, it's not the most polished look. It's not something you're going to want to put on display and think looks really cool. It looks, kind of like a makeshift sort of approach, or looks sloppy in the end. But it does what it's supposed to do. I will mention this. The image on the listing actually showed a Seagate Barracuda hard drive. They have since gone in and removed the label in the images for the listings. So it still shows the colors of a Seagate Barracuda hard drive, but it took out the logos. So you still have the green and the black labeling. So I do think at first glance it's still a little bit misleading, much less misleading than having the actual logo present on there. But at the end of the day, that's not what you get. You don't get a Seagate hard drive here. You get, essentially a off-brand mechanical drive, which, seems to work perfectly fine, but that doesn't mean it's going to give you the longevity of a Seagate, which I have, a lot of experience with. I have some Seagate mechanical drives that I've had for well over 5 years, and they're working, just as well as they did the day I got them out of the package. So I can't speak to the longevity of this by any means, but it does seem to be put together, in a way that should last you a long period of time. But you never know with hard drives or SSDs or anything that's off-brand. So anything could happen, and I, can't stress that enough. Now, in terms of the performance here, 3DS was the only collection I had any issues with. I didn't have a good experience within 3DS. Now, I'm not sure if you can make adjustments within that emulator to better the experience in those games. I'm just not well acquainted with that emulator, so I don't know my way around the settings there. I don't know, how to try to tweak things. You may be able to tweak things and get a good performance out of it. I, however, just, didn't. It wasn't a good experience. The games weren't playable. The majority of them were just really lagged out, slow motion. In fact, you saw, a brief little demo of one of them here, and just wasn't a good experience. However, everything else worked very well. PS2, GameCube, all your later stuff and early stuff across the board, everything performed extremely well. There were some titles that were mislabeled. Specifically in PS2, I found several of them, like I jumped into NFL Blitz 2003, for example, and it wasn't that title. It was actually one of the NFL games from Sega. So, there are some little issues here and there like that. Does it ruin the experience? No, but, it can be frustrating at times. Unfortunately, though, when you buy a plug-and-play setup like this, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to have some little annoying issues like that. You get convenience, but, there are some headaches along the way. The only way to truly 100% avoid that is to set up your own drives or your own game consoles, which is always the best approach in my opinion, but it's not for everybody. It's a time-consuming process. It's a tedious process. Some people don't have the time or patience or the knowledge on how to go about doing all that. So for them, plug-and-play devices like this are a home run, and I get that. So it is very much a good experience here. The controller provided is a GameSir. It's not top of the line from GameSir, but it does exactly what you need it to do. The shoulder and trigger buttons are very responsive. All the buttons are responsive here. The analog sticks feel very good. They're not, top of the line though. They're not your typical, high-end GameSir product. These are more budget friendly, but again, you will have a good experience using them. If you are going to be on here all the time, then you might want to upgrade to one of the nicer products from GameSir. I have several of their controllers. They're a great brand, very reliable. So it is nice that at least we have a branded controller, because with these plug-and-play devices, usually we get generic stuff across the board. So I can definitely see that Kinhank has put more time into this product than some of their past ones. It's very well thought out, and it's priced currently at, I'm going to double check it right now because prices do fluctuate on a regular basis. Can't stress that enough. $329.99, but there is currently a $20 off coupon on Amazon. So brings the price point to just over 300 bucks for what you get here, the level of performance, the offerings of these games and game collections, the GameSir controller, the mechanical drive with the external SATA connection. I definitely think it's worth it. You can go and get a mini PC, you can get a drive separate, put it all together. You're going to be right around the same price point on the low end here. So I think $329.99, with or without that coupon code, I think it's definitely worth every bit for what you get here. Is it perfect? No, definitely not. Rarely are things perfect when you come to plug and play emulation boxes or consoles, drives, etc. But it is good enough to where I think that you are definitely getting some value at $329.99. And I want to say this too. You don't have to use this exactly as it comes to you. If there's games that you're not going to play, you can remove those games, free up some space, and then bring in your own games. And because you have so many USB-A ports on the actual console here, you could bring in a flash drive with ROMs on it. You can bring those right over, connect them over to your external hard drive here, add them into the mix, remove the ones that you aren't going to play, and you can start customizing your experience on here. It's much less time consuming than starting from scratch, so it gives you a solid leg up in the right direction here, saves you a ton of time, and it also provides you with a lot of the games that can be harder to find these days. So yeah, I think it's worth every penny of what they're charging. Honestly, I think it's put together nice enough, even though there are some shortcomings in some areas. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think that this plug and play console from Kinhank is worth $329.99 for a 4 terabyte plug and play setup? Let me know in the comments. You guys know the deal. If you want additional information on this product, click the link up here at the top of your screen, as well as in the description of this video. That's going to do it for today, though. If you enjoyed the review video today, please give me a thumbs up on the video. And of course, hit subscribe to stay in the loop for all future videos right here on the Retro Gaming Guy YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.